Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Box. Joining me today we have Craig McLean.
Hello.
And Adam Todd at the end there.
Hello.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the Singapore Grand Prix review, and that definitely an eventful race to say the least. We're going to be giving out our usual awards. We'll come to that later, and then we will discuss driver changes and team changes as well. So we'll start off with Singapore. We'll start off with qualifying, because obviously that's where the weekend really begun. Immense qualifying performance from Red Bull. How did they do it?
Well, the track suits them very well, and clearly they showed. I was almost surprised Vettel got pole in the end. I thought one of the Red Bulls was going to nick it. Both Verstappen and Ricciardo were looking very good. But yeah, they had a great performance, so it was good to see them show that pace in qualifying. You kind of fear, though, that was their one and last chance of the season at this track. None of the tracks suit them nearly as much as Singapore does, so I think after this it'll be a run to the end of the season really with row 3 qualifying performances. Obviously Mercedes essentially just swapped position with Red Bull this weekend, being on row 3. Obviously it didn't matter in the end that they were on row 3, but yeah, I think we'll see the order again in Malaysia. Ferrari and Mercedes battling for pole.
Yeah, Adam expected Mercedes to not be as good as they had been in previous races, but we didn't expect them to be quite as poor as they were in qualifying. Why do you think that was?
Yeah, I think, well, the stretch, Craig's bang on, you know, that track does suit Red Bull with the low speed corners, and it's the strengths of their car. Mercedes always knew going into that weekend it was going to be tough. I mean, you just come off the back of Belgium and Italy, which are two tracks that just suit Mercedes down to He really would have been expecting to take maximum points out of both those races, and they didn't. Singapore was kind of damage limitations for them. Obviously, we'll find out that it didn't quite work out Ferrari and Red Bull's way, but it was a great lap by Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari in qualifying, and such an important lap to pull out at this time of the season. Unfortunately for him, the race didn't go his way, but to do that lap and with his championship rival down in 5th, could have been such a big swing back to Vettel in the World Championship standings. And after Friday's pace, I think Red Bull were shocked at just how well the Ferraris managed to turn it up for qualifying. So a great lap by Vettel, and obviously for the Red Bulls, as Craig said, it probably was their best chance to win a race this season, and second and third starting pretty good position to heading into the race.
Yeah. So a quick word on the race start. Charlie Whiting, obviously race director, seems to be under pressure just about every race for some decision or another that he makes. There was a wee debate after the incident on lap 1, obviously. Was he right to allow a normal start in those conditions, or should it have been under a safety car? Craig?
I don't think it should have been under a safety car. I think the incident was not due to the rain, it was more due to driver negligence. I feel it could have happened in the dry as well, that exact incident. Basically, Vettel was trying to push Verstappen over, Raikkonen was trying to push Verstappen over. I don't think either of them realised that their teammate was on the other side of Verstappen, so that's how it went down. But no, I don't think a safety car would have been necessary. I kind of fear and hope that that doesn't make them do a U-turn on the safety car starts in the wet, because it's good to see a standing start.
Yeah. Adam, for that first lap incident, who is to blame in your opinion?
Well, I've watched it numerous times, and the more times you watch it doesn't help, in my opinion anyway. There's so many different things that are going on. If you actually look at Max Verstappen's start, a lot of people were saying, well, he was just going straight, but he actually does move towards Vettel at the start before then going straight, so he actually does move to the right a bit. Vettel obviously goes to the left a lot, and then it's Raikkonen's great start that really is what cost Vettel and Verstappen.
Hamilton on the other side as well.
Yeah, I don't think Hamilton was going to threaten Vettel too much, but it's a racing incident for me. I mean, it could happen. And it's a chain reaction basically. Vettel goes to cut off Verstappen. I mean, like you would in any other race, you know. A lot of people are criticising Vettel, but to be honest, I think, and a lot of drivers in Vettel's position would probably do the same, because Max Verstappen is such a threat. And if you lose the lead to Verstappen, then to be honest, I can't see with Red Bull's pace that they'd shown in Friday practice. I couldn't saw Vettel overtake him. So the best thing, especially on a track like Singapore, is to have track position. So I'm certainly not putting the blame with Vettel. For me, it was a racing incident.
Craig?
Yeah, I would say the same, to be quite honest. You see Vettel obviously moving over to try and push Verstappen to the side, and It is, yeah. It's a series of unfortunate events essentially, because if Raikkonen hadn't been there, 10 times out of 10, Verstappen would have moved over,
Yeah.
so to avoid a crash. I think Verstappen maybe would have gotten Vettel into turn one as well if Raikkonen obviously hadn't been there, but there's no point in speculating about that. So I think, to be quite honest, considering the magnitude of the incident on World Championship consequences, it's an incident you're going to be seeing in 10 years' time. You're still going to be looking at this in 10 years' time. I think it's a good call from the FIA deciding it's just a racing incident.
Adam, I know you want to have a word on Fernando Alonso, who's obviously caught up in that.
How unlucky can one guy be? Like, seriously, what an incredible start, first of all. I mean, you forget that it was Nico Hülkenberg who actually did qualify the McLarens, and you remember he was so jubilant after beating the McLarens, but what an incredible start. A trademark lightning quick start from Fernando Alonso, who's been doing it all his career, no matter what car, he's always been great at the starts. And normally it's further down in the kind of when you're stuck in that midfield pack, where that's where the incidents at the start happen. Normally at the front they'll get away relatively cleanly, but yeah, majorly unlucky. It was an incredible start, it was up to third, and could he have got a podium? We'll never know, but yeah, I think he would have been in the mix, but so unlucky, really frustrating, and just adds insult to injury, really, doesn't it? 3 difficult years he's endured. Obviously they'd ended the partnership that weekend. There would have been a nice kind of podium for both parties, but not to be.
I think ridiculously as well, after going airborne and damaging everything, he did actually rejoin the race, and he was 12th for a point off I think the first and second lap. Obviously then the damage caught up.
When you saw the damage side on it, it was too much, but yeah, just so frustrating, so frustrating.
I think it was the same with Vettel as well. Obviously he got going again, but then just punted into the wall straight away. It was almost, I feel, lucky that he didn't collect Hamilton. I don't know if you've really watched that incident in much depth. Obviously after turn 1 and 2, he's going one way first and then he autocorrects. I feel like he almost did manage to connect it to avoid other cars. So that could have been something else as well.
So obviously after that big crash at turn 1, obviously Hamilton just sort of flew away into the lead. Why, Adam, was their pace so different from what it was for the rest of the weekend?
I think it was because they had clear air. A big problem with Mercedes since the V6 turbos came in 2014 has been whenever Mercedes get stuck in traffic, they struggle a lot, and I think that certainly had something to do with it, that they weren't getting dirty air thrown back into them. And also Red Bull, Daniel Ricciardo, it turned out after the race we were told that he was managing a gearbox issue, and in fact the team actually thought that he could have to retire halfway during the race, so obviously Ricciardo couldn't go at full pace, which was a real shame. But yeah, Hamilton, he was just in cruise control. Even with the safety cars, when they came out, you were expecting Ricciardo to have a real opportunity, but Ricciardo never got close. Hamilton in cruise control, and at a track where Mercedes didn't expect to win, then you have to say it was a good drive from Hamilton.
The 3 restarts, Craig, obviously huge moments during the race. Were they just fantastic from Hamilton, or was Ricciardo maybe a bit slow to react?
It was a bit disappointing to see Ricciardo not get near him on any of the restarts. He didn't even stay within a second of him. There was no restart, or he was within DRS after a couple of laps. Well, saying that, whether it would have been allowed anyway with the still quite wet track, but it was a shame to see. I feel like, if you're saying gearbox issue that Ricciardo apparently had, it must have obviously affected him. I feel that the Mercedes was a bit quicker in the rain than it had been in the dry. Obviously, it depends more on the driver in that stage as well. Hamilton is known to be quite good in the wet, so I think he just managed to control it.
8 wet races in F1.
8 wet races, so there you go. That's your stat. I honestly think slightly as well that Ricciardo might have been pretty happy for second, because he was probably looking at it as, right now he's battling Raikkonen for 4th in the championship, and I think he's going to beat him because he's been so consistent this season. So I think he's looking at second place as 18 points gained.
Anyway, we've talked about Nico Hülkenberg a lot on this show. Obviously, Renault, huge mistake not pitting them. Both our drivers actually earlier. They seem to be the last to put under a safety car for whatever reason that was, and it really hampered Hülkenberg's race. And then obviously had I don't know what it was, a mechanical failure later on in the race. What does he have to do to get a decent result in a podium?
I think it will come. I think Renault are on the way up for sure. So I think he will get one eventually. But obviously he's now set the record for the most race starts without a podium. I think it was it Adrian Sutil that was the other driver that he overtook.
It was, yeah, I think it was still.
So yeah, I mean he's been so unlucky, Hulkenberg. I think Brazil 2012 was probably a race he could have won. But obviously the collisions with the McLarens that day, and again real opportunity in Singapore, and you have to take your opportunities when you're in a midfield battle like that. You have to take your opportunities. So Renault, it was a mistake to pit later on, but the mechanical issue again, Renault, you know, they've had a lot of issues. You look at Max Verstappen, issues he's had with the Renault engine, and obviously the same with Hulkenberg. So that's why McLaren go into Renault. I know we'll talk about that later on, but yeah, Renault need to sort their stuff out for sure for next season if they want to be back at the top at F1, and if they're going to do that anytime soon, then they're going to have to back up their ideas.
Yeah, what happened with the pit stops was a very, very big mistake. Obviously, it could have cost them a lot more than it did. I believe they waited to pit Palmer as well. Obviously, with him finishing the race, I think he could have probably finished 4th above Perez and Sainz Jr. So that could have been an even better result for Palmer. Saying that, he'll be delighted with 6th considering the way his career's gone so far. So, well done to Palmer. But it was a shame to see Hulkenberg retire. There was one point where he could realistically finish 2nd. And I think if he stayed ahead of Bottas, he might have actually been able to control him, because Bottas was pretty anonymous in that race.
Yeah, he was off the pace the entire weekend, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So as the rain went away and it became time for dry tyres, the first team to blink were Haas. They brought in Kevin Magnussen quite a couple of laps before anybody else brought in their drivers. He was putting in some great times, but he also put in some very risky moves on several drivers, including Felipe Massa. I know we talked about this during the race. Adam, what was your view on that one?
I think Kevin Magnussen, he's kind of getting this reputation, which I don't think he deserves as the bad boy of F1. I've rated Magnussen since he first came in to F1 back in 2014 with McLaren. His very first race, got a podium in Australia, and for any driver to get a podium in their first race in Formula 1, I think there's immense talent there. And it was a shame the way his kind of career worked out, because with Alonso joining McLaren in 2015, him and Button obviously had to wait to find out who would be kept on. They chose Button. It looked as if Magnussen might not get a drive, but luckily he's been at Renault, he's been at Haas, and I think not actually going to McLaren has probably worked out better for him. He seems to be happy with Haas, but I think Magnussen lit up that race, to be honest. A lot of good moves. It was a bold decision for Haas to pit early. It's one of those decisions that, I mean, why not take the gamble? You're fighting towards the back end of the points. This is one of the races where if you make the right call, then you can end up with a really, really good result. So I thought Haas did well. Probably maybe slightly a lap too early, I'd say, because I think in the first lap Hamilton was still faster in Inters. But yeah, it's one of those decisions that can either work in your favour or work against you.
Craig, and that on that one?
Yeah, no, I think what you're saying, yeah, he got a podium in his first race. I believe the only driver before him in recent times to have done that was Hamilton. Obviously in McLaren as well, back at Australia 2007. So he's definitely got the talent, Magnussen. And I think that move in Massa was really brave. There could have been a plane crash essentially if Massa had squeezed him that little bit further, but thankfully he didn't. So it was good to see. There was some really hard racing between them. I think he then ran wide at the next corner, Magnussen, and then I think they were quite tight going into the next corner after that again. So it was good hard racing that we were seeing. It was quite, they were really not leaving anything for the other guy to bear. It was good to see that they didn't collide. I'm hoping that there's quite a lot of respect to the two drivers after that, because they were racing hard, but they weren't overstepping the limit.
Yeah. So there were two more retirements before the end of the race. Danny Kvyat and Marcus Ericsson. Marcus Ericsson was just a bit of a spin and hit the bar. It was a very strange one. But Danny Kvyat was a very strange thing to do. He just sort of
Didn't
brake, didn't turn in, and whacked it into the wall. He's really building up his reputation as a bit of a hard hitter.
Yeah, I mean, literally, he just did have an overtake as well at the previous corner. I think going into turn 3, he's had an overtake. You know, he was not under any pressure, and he was just going far too hot into the next corner. And he actually hit the wall quite hard, so it's not even like he just ran wide. He ran well wide, so I'm really not sure what happened there. Locked the brake, or the thing with Kvyat is, obviously he's defended him. Obviously he beat Ricciardo in the driver's standings in 2015, but he's got 4 points. And his teammate Sainz Jr., I believe, has 48 points. That's not defendable. You can't defend him for that because he's now got 4 years' experience in Formula 1, so he should do far better.
That, although he has been unlucky with reliability issues. And
He has.
I suppose with Red Bull, see if you look at how many points Ricardo's ahead and Max Verstappen, you'd be thinking, how can you defend Max Verstappen?
Yeah.
So it is a difficult one. I wouldn't say it's as clear cut as. I think Kvyat does have talent, as you said. He obviously did beat Ricciardo in 2015, and I think he's lucky because I think had Sainz stayed at Toro Rosso, they would have brought in Gasly surely, because Gasly's been waiting in the wings now for a couple of seasons. So I think because Sainz is now off to Renault, Kvyat will probably keep his seat, so there's a bit of stability around Toro Rosso. So I think he's lucky in that sense. But I think he has talent. It's just, I mean, I cannot imagine as a driver driving for one of the top teams. Just 4 races into the season, you've got a podium just a couple of races ago, and then to get a phone call saying you're no longer driving.
It was a pretty ruthless, bold move
so
from
I think
Marco.
that probably affected, definitely affected him the rest of last season. This season it should have been a clean slate, and unfortunately for Kvyat, I mean, if you do look at the Drivers' Championship, it does make grim reading.
There was one more retirement before the end. Kevin Magnussen actually retired. I don't remember that being very widely shown on TV at the time.
Yeah, no, that was a shame. I mind the blank out that he was swearing on the radio, not helping us rep again. But no, that was a shame. Magnussen was another retirement like Hülkenberg. Both of them were, you know, Hülkenberg was a breath of fresh air, obviously running at the front in a Renault, something a bit different. And Magnussen lit up the race more than most did. He got on with his business, and he was unlucky in the end. It was a shame to see that he retired. So. I don't think we actually got points anyway, though. I think there was a restart, maybe the 3rd restart after Ericsson's incident that he ran wide. He dropped down to about 13th, so I think he would have just outside the points anyway. But
So final results: Lewis Hamilton first, got the fastest lap as well. Obviously, he was going to. Then Daniel Ricciardo, Valtteri Bottas, then Carlos Sainz, then Perez, Palmer, Van Dorn, Stroll, Grosjean, and Ocon make up top 10, and then Massa and Pascal Wehrlein, who managed to get lapped. And that, I don't know how he managed that, to get lapped.
Well, with the amount of safety cars, you think he would have been able to close that. But I think Sauber had a disaster of a race as well. They're obviously usually at the back, but I think they really messed up a few of the pit stops. I think they left their line out for ages on wets, trying to weave him out until he just changed on drives. But he eventually had to come in for inners because the wets were just done.
I mean, we talk about Haas and obviously taking a gamble. Sauber's another team that got to take a gamble like that to try and get some points. I mean, they're obviously at the back of the grid, and realistically, I don't think they are going to overtake McLaren, and it's not going to make a grand difference in the grand scheme of things towards the end of the season. But certainly, you'd think that a team like Sauber and people at the back, you would take a gamble like that. So strange.
Anyway, some of the main points to pick out from that those final standings: Carlos Sainz in 4th, and a quick mention to Perez, Palmer, and Van Dorn as well, all getting personal best results.
Obviously best result ever for Sainz and Palmer and Van Dorn, so 3 drivers that will be delighted with that weekend. You could obviously take into account many things that contribute as to why they finished so high up. But, you know, they're not complaining. You've got to take a bit of luck sometimes, and when it comes to drivers like Palmer and Van Dorn, they definitely deserve a bit of luck considering what they've had to deal with this season.
Yeah, Carlos Sainz, I mean, another phenomenal drive from him. I think he's a future world champion, to be honest. I really highly rate him. I mean, yes, Max Verstappen beat him in the driver standings, but on his day, Sainz could easily match Max Verstappen, so I think for Carlos Sainz, he's definitely an exciting prospect for Formula 1. Good to see him going to a full works team with Renault, and I think it's clever by Red Bull just loaning him out, because I think Red Bull won't want to let a driver like Carlos Sainz go to a rival team. And Perez again getting the job done. It's been a difficult season with Perez, with Esteban Ocon coming in and kind of stealing a bit of the limelight there, but Perez holding his own there. And Palmer, good result for Palmer definitely, and a difficult track as well, Singapore, so he'll be delighted with his first few points. Unfortunately, I can't see him staying in F1 though after the end of the season.
I think if he can get a few more results before the end of the season, someone could still be looking at him on Sauber, or I couldn't see something like Williams looking at him.
Yeah, because the thing is, remember last season he started to do well as well towards the end of the season. I mean, you can't wait 15 races in or 14 races in and then start delivering. You've got to be right there from race 1 in Australia, because you can never win a world championship in the first race, but you can lose it. I think for Renault constructors wise, we've looked at how well Hulkenberg's done the majority of the season, and Palmer, was pointless until Singapore.
I think he's received that sort of unfortunate online reputation as well, Palmer, than the likes of Maldonado, etc. have, that it never really goes well for him, and it's almost a bit of a calamity sometimes, so that's probably not helping.
Could also be partly due to the fact that he is British, so he's constantly being compared to to Hamilton.
Obviously, a lot of the community are British, so that's true indeed. Obviously, the race results actually showed that Palmer won, because there was a problem with the computer. So
a wee shout out to Lance Stroll as well. Another pretty good race from him. Easily beat out Felipe Massa for 8th. So
he's coming
really
of age now, isn't he? Yeah, he is.
Look at it. It's his debut season. He's had a front row start, a podium, and 5 points finishes.
Yeah.
And he's only a couple of points behind Felipe Massa, who's been in F1 for now, I think it's his 15th or 16th season. I think he's done pretty well. He's only 18 years old.
5 or 6 races in, you were thinking, far too young maybe. You're thinking that Williams would keep Massa, but now it looks, because Stroll's doing so well, it's looking as if Stroll's coming of age now, let's have another driver in, so they're not going to keep Massa. So it's amazing how it changed in the middle part of the season, but I'm much better from Stroll. And I think obviously it was difficult as a rookie coming in, especially with the new regulations, wider tyres, the faster cars. Some doesn't come close to anything he's previously driven, so it obviously took him time, but the guy's clearly got talent. But I think as for his team Williams, they're not having a great season at all.
Can you put a finger as to why? Is there any particular reason? Or
I can't. When you look at how well Force India do with the same engine, and for me it's unacceptable.
I honestly think the driver lineup could contribute to it, because he's got
true.
Perez and Ocon at Force India, who are two solid drivers. Ocon's more proven than Stroll is. Obviously, he's got more experience in junior categories. He's won the GP3 championship. He beat Max Verstappen in I think it was the European Formula 3 championship in 2014. So Stroll's not got as much experience, and I think Massa is unfortunately at the end. Like, he is a little bit past it.
And even
I feel like he's been considered. Yeah, he's been considered for next season, Massa. But I think for his own sake, I think he should have bailed out last season when he did actually retire. So I really think he should.
I just think the crashes that Force India have had, all the problems they've had with keeping present Ocon, there's nobody even there to capitalise on that. Williams should be thinking, oh brilliant, those two have collided, we should be taking advantage, but they're nowhere near in the Constructors' Championship, so it's been an awful season for Williams, to put it mildly.
Definitely. So time for the awards for Singapore. First up, we're going to have best and worst driver. We'll start doing the end. Adam, who are you going to go for?
I mean, it'd be easy to say Hamilton, because I think he did do a good job out at front. Difficult conditions as well at the start, obviously with the wet track, and when you're leading away you can't take too many risks. But for me, I'm going to go with Carlos Sainz again, and a Toro Rosso finishing 4th, and just another top drive from Sainz. I think hopefully next year Renault can take another step up and he can be fighting for podiums, because I really do believe he's the real deal. Do you want me to know my worst driver just now as well? Worst driver? That's difficult actually, because we had so many retirements through no fault of their own. Probably Marcus Ericsson, just a strange place, wasn't it, in Anderson Bridge?
It was a bizarre incident. I'm not really sure how it occurred. He was a bit nowhere in the race anyway. I'd probably give best driver, slightly reluctantly, but to Lewis Hamilton. He just controlled
I
it.
do like to admit that he's good on this podcast, but
You've got to look at it in this race. You know, I could give it to Sainz, I could give it to Palmer, I could give it to Van Dorn, I could give it to loads of drivers, but I think there was obviously a degree of luck in it. Hamilton did get quite a decent start. There was a slight degree of luck, maybe, that he avoided the incident, but obviously you've got to, you know, have your wits about you, be aware of what's going on. So you've got to give him credit where it's due. But he just controlled the race. There was no one having a look at him the whole time. So I think I would give him best driver. Well, I think I would give worst driver probably to his teammate Bottas. He was nowhere all weekend. I'm not really sure what happened. Even if you look at qualifying, Hulkenberg nearly out-qualified Bottas. He was that off the pace. I think he was well over a second off pole.
Well behind his teammate.
Yeah, well behind his teammate, obviously in the same car. He was 0.6 down, I think, in qualifying, if not more. And in the race,
still managed
he did well to get a podium, like,
Well,
but
you'd
at the
expect
same
that, wouldn't you? I
at
mean,
the
there's
same
a Toro
time,
Rosso behind
yeah,
him, he's not
Lucas
gonna
finished
qualify.
fourth, fifth, and sixth. He should be getting a podium when only 3 drivers that normally ever finish in the podium have finished.
Here's a question: do you think that because of how badly Kimi Raikkonen's doing, does he mask maybe Bottas's issues, and Bottas isn't quite as good because we're kind of rating him both as second drivers? So do you think if Ferrari had a stronger driver, would view Bottas differently?
I think so, yeah. I think it's a shame what we've got in F1, this whole there has to be a number 1 in the team sort of thing, because obviously it's good to see a championship battle between Hamilton and Vettel, but it'd be great to see a championship battle between
Four
4
top
drivers,
drivers,
yeah.
with 2 drivers in each team.
or even 6 drivers if you.
Yeah, if Red Bull obviously were a little bit better. I honestly feel that the reason Sainz is being kept by Red Bull as well is because I think they know that they're probably going to have to put him in that car in 2019. Because I think Ricciardo or Verstappen or both could be off. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ricciardo in a Mercedes in 2019 and Verstappen in a Ferrari in 2019. So,
Best driver, I'll go for Julian Palmer. Obviously, he's been berated in the media for months. He's basically just lost his Renault seat like during the week, so obviously his mindset might not have been
It's a good
that
way to
good.
answer the
So
critics.
it was a really good way to answer back. Maybe this performance can help him get some for next season. Who knows? And worst driver, I'm going to go for Felipe Massa. Absolutely nowhere during the race. You'd think that a race like that, the conditions were so tricky, would call for an experienced head, but it was just nowhere. It was
I think I'd agree with you there. Stroll outperformed him in the race.
yeah.
So
He's just
I'm
not
not really sure.
at it this season.
The thing that frustrates me is, remember in Azerbaijan, I was really hoping that Felipe Massa, that was a race I think Massa should have won, but obviously reliability issues. It could have been that could have turned around Massa's season, but I think even maybe just thinking, oh, I could have won that race hasn't helped either. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame for Massa.
I think Massa's been plagued through his whole career about mindset. Obviously, the years at Ferrari with Alonso didn't help him at all because he was being completely outperformed.
And he was kind of happy to take the number 2 role. There was no kind of drive
Yeah.
to be the number 1. I want to beat him.
Which is very odd considering he's a driver who 2 years previously nearly won a championship, bar Timo Glock running wide at the last
Yeah.
corner. Yeah, so it's unfortunate, but I think personally Massa's time is up in F1. He's not winning the championship.
He's never been the same
Probably not
since
winning the race.
incident
Since
in
the
Hungary.
incident at Hungary, obviously it's a shame.
Yep. So next one, best and worst team. Craig, we'll start with you this time.
Best team. I'd probably give that. I think I'd give it to Renault over the course of the whole weekend. The only thing I'd take away from them is the poor call with the pit stops, because I think that lost them a couple of points. Obviously, if Hulkenberg had finished in the points, even more. But they were really quick all weekend. They were really competitive in qualifying and the race. So I think they really nailed it. It was a track that was somewhat suited to them. But I think we've seen over the last few races that they do look almost like they're just about best of the rest at this stage.
Yeah.
I think once Sainz Junior's in that car, if they can extract a wee bit more pace next season, I think they're looking at 4th in the championship realistically. They should be because they're a constructor.
Yeah.
But I think with 2 consistent drivers like Sainz and Hulkenberg, they're going to be really good next season. Worst team, it's easy to say. Sauber every week, just about. But I would honestly say they made poor strategy calls this weekend. So I think, you know,
How they can be so far behind in a race like that.
yeah, I think obviously as you're saying, you know, they took a risk, but it didn't work.
Adam?
Mercedes, the best team for me. They were coming into this weekend, obviously off the back of those two good wins in Belgium and Italy, and it was all about damage limitations and trying to just get the best result possible, not to lose too many points in the championship. Yes, they lucked into the result. I'm not hiding away from that fact. But Hamilton still had a job to do over the 2 hours of the race, and Bottas got a podium, so a double podium at a track where you were expecting to maybe finish fifth at best. So Mercedes for me. Worst team, I'm going to say Haas, because I think Grosjean just 10th, was it? He finished 9th, he finished. And yeah, Magnussen obviously made a lot of good overtakes, but I think just that was a kind of race where I think they were expecting to be up there because they had a good Monaco.
They were good at the start of the season,
weekend,
just sort of falling away.
And they've not had the same development rate as other teams, so a disappointment for Haas. When you look at Grosjean finishing 9th, you know, normally that's a good result, but when you think about the amount of drivers that were lost so early on, you know, you should be really be looking at 5th, 6th.
I think there was a stage in the race where both of them were running a bit higher.
Yeah.
And in the points, so yeah, I think they'll look at it as points
That's
lost.
the opportunity, absolutely.
Obviously, Haas is still in the battle with Williams, Renault, I think Toro Rosso are pretty much all close together, but Haas are 8th, and they've fallen a little behind. Yeah, you've got the stats up there.
I mean, they're
So
only
they're 5 points
Renault.
behind Renault, but I think looking at what I've said about Renault right now, Renault are only 16, 17 points off Williams in 5th. I think that's still a target for Renault, to be quite honest, because Hülkenberg can, when he wants, put in consistency.
Yeah.
So best team, it's a very hard one because this was a weekend where one driver in a team did really well and the other driver seemed to, with the exception of Mercedes, one did really well, one not so much. But best team, I'm going to go for Force India. Apart from Mercedes, they're the only team to have both their drivers in the points, I think. Is that right?
What's that, sorry?
Force India,
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's fair enough as well, because Force India were
They were nowhere Friday.
yeah, it's not their track, so to get a double points finish and 11 points at it, that's fair enough. So
worst team going to go for. Who should we go for? It's a very tough one because there wasn't many bad teams. It was just one side of the garage was worse than the other. But I'm going to go for Ferrari because they had it, given the pace that they had in qualifying. Vettel had anyway. It looked like going into turn one, it could have been a Ferrari 1-2 with Raikkonen absolutely storming up the inside, and they threw it all away. That could have been a huge moment for Vettel, a huge moment in the constructors as well. But they threw it away and only
Constructors
gave themselves to blame.
I've always thought the constructors was by anyway because I just feel that Bottas is so much stronger than Raikkonen. But yeah, now that's completely over.
That's a different
Mercedes are effectively champions.
I think Channel 4 were saying, when's the last time that both Ferraris got knocked out in lap 1?
Long time.
That was the very first time. That's never
Yeah,
happened in
never
history.
happened. Really?
Which is quite incredible. You've got to give Ferrari credit.
Yeah, I
All the years
expected
they've been
maybe it would have happened decades and decades ago, but I didn't realise it was
Yeah.
never. That's quite an incredible stat there. Obviously, this race was a bit different as well. As a clock ran out. I can't remember the last time the clock ran out in a race. A couple of
Yeah,
years
it
ago now.
seems to happen at Singapore
Brazil
quite
last year
regularly.
maybe? Did it call Barrett then?
Singapore always
I can't
tends to be
remember.
pretty tight, doesn't it?
Yeah, Singapore and Monaco, obviously, the way they are, it always tends to be a bit tight. So, yeah.
Last award is going to be biggest or best moment. What are you going to go for?
The start.
I mean, if I had to choose anything but the start,
Yeah, we'll go for something about the start just for a bit of originality.
probably Magnussen and Massa battling for position. That was a pretty brave overtake from Magnussen. As I say, it could have been a big crash, so that was good to see.
It's a difficult one because I actually didn't think it was that great a race, was it?
After the start,
Yeah, I mean, it's
really
difficult.
wasn't good.
I mean, Martin Brundle hit the nail on the head. He was saying when you lose 4 drivers at the first corner of their magnitude, Max Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen, obviously Fernando Alonso a few laps later, you know, any race that loses those 4 so early on, it's not going to be.
They're the drivers that are going to be giving you the show.
Yeah, and that's all the fans, the majority of the fans support those 4 drivers. Also, Lewis Hamilton's huge. But yeah, so I think that kind of put a damp squid in the race.
They're going to be yours then?
I'm going to have
Yeah,
to go
go
with
with
Start
the
because honestly,
Start.
I can't really think of it.
Yeah.
They got me excited, really.
Yeah, I'm going to go for just the restarts in general. There were such big moments in the race, and Ricardo just never
Yeah, it was an
capitalised on one of
anticlimax,
them.
wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Was really disappointing from him. Quick word on engine changes, obviously, and in an interview on was it the Saturday or Sunday, Christian Horner hinted that their new engine supplier could be someone that they have a very close relationship with, and everyone immediately thought Aston Martin. What do you think are the chances of that happening?
I think it's pretty much been confirmed because Aston Martin has now come out saying that they're willing to supply F1 engines in 2021, so I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it is going to happen in 2021.
How do you think they're going to get on with it?
And they're all, just before I speak about that, they're also coming on, or it looks as if they're going to be the full title sponsor as well of Red Bull. So like Infinity were just a couple of years ago, it was Infinity Red Bull Racing. It's going to become Aston Martin Red Bull Racing, we expect anyway. For next season, they're obviously wanting to put more involvement in that, and that would lead to the supplying Red Bull with an engine. It's an unknown quantity, isn't it, really?
Yeah, they I think had a bit of F1 time in the 60s.
Yeah, but apart from it's,
Mhm.
you look at a manufacturer that's been so successful in the past, Honda, and you look how they've struggled. That would put me off going into F1, to be perfectly honest. Good to see engine manufacturers wanting to come into Formula 1, you have to say. Great for the sport, especially with the amount of different manufacturers going into Formula E at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough for Aston Martin. You look at Mercedes and Ferrari, just how dominant those engines are at the moment. So time will tell.
You'd almost hope if we even get one more manufacturer at this stage. So there was a stage in, I think it was 2008, where the cars that were seen as like worst were still good. Like realistically, you Toyota were a manufacturer, Honda were a manufacturer. You know, Red Bull, I believe, had Cosworth engines at that stage. Ferrari, Renault, McLaren, or Mercedes. There were so many different manufacturers. It was great to see. You want that. You want 10 different teams with 10 different engine suppliers because that's going to maximise it to the full because they're focused on one team and not Mercedes, you know, giving their B engines to Williams and Force India.
I mean, just that's the issue at the moment as an engine formula, and it's two divisional Formula 1 because you're not going to beat a works team, are you? Really, Mercedes, Force India, Williams, never in a month for Sundays are they going to beat Mercedes. Renault's a different situation, obviously, with Red Bull, but I just feel that same with Ferrari. Any team that gets a Ferrari engine at the moment, they're not going to beat. It's already before the season's starting. It's like a two-tier.
Yeah, you know,
and that's the
people-
thing that I just don't like about Formula
People often say that they don't want customer cars in Formula 1. We've got customer cars.
1. Yeah, absolutely.
Quick word on the driver standings before we go. Lewis Hamilton obviously leads, Sebastian Vettel, then Valtteri Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. That's a big point to make. Then Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, who those two are on the same points. Would you believe it? Then Esteban Ocon, Carlos Sainz, and Nico Hulkenberg. The only driver yet to score points is Marcus Ericsson. Anything you want to take from that?
I think for Lewis Hamilton, anyway, 28 points now in front, with just 6 races to go. It's going to be extremely tough for Ferrari. However, I don't agree with the negativity that I saw on social media. The championship's over.
Yeah.
All it takes is one retirement. Last year,
Yeah,
look
last
what
year.
happened. Yeah, in Malaysia. There you go. Championship defining moment. Thinking every season Hamilton's been in the sport, he's had a retirement. He's not had one this year, if I'm correct in thinking. So statistically, one should be on its way, which should make it exciting. But yeah, it's going to be tough. It is still in Sebastian Vettel's hands though, so that's what I don't get. If Vettel goes out and wins all the races, which is unlikely to do so, it's still in Ferrari's hands. But they need Raikkonen to deliver, and I think this is where Ferrari are going to start to realise Raikkonen, we need somebody better than Kimi Raikkonen that is going to support Vettel, because you need Ferrari 1-2s, and I can't see Ferrari 1-2s happening in the next 6 races.
Raikkonen below Daniel Ricciardo, that's
Sums it up,
unacceptable,
doesn't it?
really.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying about Verstappen being on the same amount of points as Perez, that shows you how many problems Verstappen's had. That's how far he is behind.
It also
But
shows you how good his results have been when he has
yeah,
had the reliability. that
you
he-
feel it's almost like an Alonso situation now. When you see Verstappen in the garage with the team at, half an hour into the race, just kind of laughing away with him, it's like he almost must go into the race thinking, what's going to happen
I
today?
think the level in the DNF championship, I think it's 7 apiece.
Mhm.
So I mean, when you think how horrific McLaren have been, and the fact Verstappen's level with Alonso, then that really does sum it up.
I think that'll do us for today. We're back next time to preview Malaysia, which is it'll probably be a Mercedes race, but you never know.
I think it'll be
it's a-
tight.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I
one of
think
those ones.
that's
that'll be
one of
close.
those tight ones. I think, yeah,
Um,
a must win for Ferrari though, because
Yeah.
it is a tight one. So if Mercedes are beating you in tight ones, then think what will happen at Suzuka.
We could really do with Raikkonen stepping up his game
Absolutely.
to help.
so thanks to Adam Todd
Thank you.
and Craig McLean.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
be back next time, as I said, and see you later.
Talk